What are you hearing and feeling? More importantly, what are you feeling? And then secondly, what are you hearing a day later after what happened at NABJ?
People are not happy with what happened. People are angry about what happened. And they suspect that something is up in the background that hasn't been fully revealed. It's unclear to me as to why the leadership at NABJ would think that a group of journalists would not check and find out what the truth is. That's what everybody's trying to do now. And, obviously there's more to the story. As I like to say, Harris Faulkner did not fall out of the sky. Some reporter from Semaphore, who makes that decision, right? Mm-hmm. Why Semaphore, that's only 2 years old, has a reporter up on the stage when you have a room of thousands of journalists? Many of them have been in the game for so long, and nobody can tell me that if the three people were April Ryan and Michael Harriot and Roland Martin, that this would have, been approved by the Trump campaign. So clearly one of the things is something clearly got approved by the Trump campaign. I don't understand why it's hard to say these things. We know how politics works on a high level. For this to come out on the night of the 29th and nobody know about it, including the mayor of Chicago, is problematic. Why was that the case? And there might be some very logical explanations for that. There was an assassination attempt on the 13th of July on former President Trump. So maybe they wanted to not tell anybody because of some security. I don't know. But I'm saying to get no answers from the executive director of NABJ or the president of NABJ is problematic. It's hugely problematic. And I have to tell you honestly, the first thing I thought of when I saw Harris Faulkner's name in this was to check the registration in North Carolina of the president of NABJ. Because I just felt like that feels Republican to me. Like, why? Why are we putting on stage somebody that is from a company that lost a huge defamation suit to the tune of almost $1 billion for lying for Donald Trump? I will admit, I have no problem admitting it, I didn't expect much out of Harris Faulkner. She actually asked one of the better questions in general, which was, why did you choose J.D. Vance as your vice president? Her follow-up was even better. Oh, you're comfortable with him being a heartbeat away? I thought that was actually not a bad question. And of course, the star of the show, in my view, ABC's Rachel Scott, no surprise. I'm proud to say I know her. I knew she was going to be great, and she was. But that question that she asked was seen by the president and his followers as somehow rude because it has never been asked, because white journalists generally don't ask those types of questions. She recounted his history of racism, and she asked him that question. And that question should have been asked years ago. Every day when he gets on that stage at a rally, he calls Mexican folks coming across that border criminals, rapists, murderers. He does that every day, and nobody asks him about it because we've normalized racism in the media somehow. So I want to hear from Reese. I know you want to hear from me, but actually, I'm going to stop there because I want to hear from Reese.
It's all good. We got time. We got time, no doubt. And Reese, like when I saw Vice President speaking at the conference just now, I kind of felt like she needed a Luther or a Lutherina, kind of to say what she was really feeling. And we all know that you're going to say what you're really feeling. But one of the things I appreciate in what you've been doing, Reese, is that you have really established yourself online as a real expert on Vice President Harris's record with the Black community. And everybody has been sharing it. And so with that in mind, and with all of the nonsense you have already been seeing before yesterday, what is your take on what transpired and the whole conversation about trying to shift towards questioning Kamala's Blackness?
Well, it's not just online, okay? Check out the recent coverage on SiriusXM. You know what I'm saying? However, I do agree with you. I am absolutely the expert on Kamala Harris. My take is that, we saw the kind of contempt that we've come to know from Donald Trump. We see exactly why he's absolutely shitting his pants at the idea of having to debate Vice President Kamala Harris. He does not like to be challenged by women. He especially is not accustomed to being challenged by Black women, aside from obviously the brilliant journalists like April Ryan and Yamiche Alcindor, who really took it to him while they were reporting from him as part of the White House correspondence. And so we just saw a person who was unhinged and who was a big racist, sexist bully. And it really didn't move the needle forward in terms of our understanding of who Donald Trump is. That's exactly who he's always been. It didn't move the needle forward in terms of getting him to actually answer questions that are relevant to our community specifically. I always think it's funny how people have no problem asking every black politician, do you support reparations? What you gonna do for the black people specifically? Where is our black X, Y, and Z bill? And they don't ask these same questions of politicians like Trump. So I don't feel like it moved the needle forward in any kind of way. It actually did more damage to the credibility of NABJ. And it just, to me, looked like another opportunity to humiliate and punch down on black women. I think that Rachel Scott handled herself exceptionally well, but at the same time, they left her hanging. She was up there getting knocked her head around, was getting knocked around all the whole time on stage. And I just want to see us get to a point where respectability and professionalism isn't just getting knocked around and keeping the stiff upper lip. Because I would have liked that somebody been like, I don't know, we're not doing that today, bro. You are in our house, and you're going to conduct yourself accordingly. And if you can't, you're going to get the hell up out of here. Maybe not in those words, but I don't really like to see a black woman just get drug up and down the stage. I mean, every chance he got a little dig in on Rachel Scott, whether she was even asking him a question or not. So I know that there's a lot of kudos, and I give her kudos for holding her composure. But sometimes composure ain't really what the situation calls for. Sometimes clapping back a little punch, right back, a little uppercut, a little defensive punch, sometimes that goes a long way. And so he got to walk away feeling like he put these Negroes in their place. He got to walk away looking like a tough guy to his base and looking like he's the victim of this hostile audience. So it was a net positive for him. And hopefully it was all that the black folks need to see, that he has not changed his stripes whatsoever. He is just as hostile and disrespectful to black people. I know a lot of people don't consider black women black people when they something that's against black women. They don't think that counts as being against black people. But he's just as disrespectful to black people as he's always been.
And so, Lauren, following up on that, we called it Truth Social, but it's Lies Social. We can't call it something that, he tries to always put out something as if he's telling the truth, but it's Lies Social. One of the things he put on his social media posts was basically that he crushed it, right? So it was clear who he went to actually speak to. He went to speak to a group of black people, but he was really talking to white people. But the question I have for you is, we knew what Trump was going to do. Is there any way that could be a net positive for the Harris campaign, maybe even indirectly for NABJ, the fact that all of these sound clips were brought up, that people can still be talking about a day later, 2 days later, a week later, a month later? Is there any net positive that can come from this for the Harris campaign and those who are in these media spaces who invited him to be there?
Well, the Harris campaign put out, I thought, an excellent statement. I've got to remember the name of their press person. I don't know her and I haven't met her yet, but I'm guessing that she's in Gen Y or Gen Z because her game is really strong. And she actually recounted all of the problems with Donald Trump and everything that happened, which was pretty easy to do, of course. The thing that we have to remember is that, I'm not one of the folks out there that thinks that we shouldn't, quote, platform Donald Trump, even knowing what he is likely to do and say. I'm in the court of bring him in and question him tough. Do what Rachel Scott did, which is why I find it so strange that you didn't have Rachel Scott and two other people that knew what they were doing. So Michael Harriot, obviously Roland, April Ryan. There's so many people that could have been on stage. Maybe, but I think that with me, you're talking about a more hot interview that probably would have ended with him, running off the stage. I think Rachel Scott really is really good having the mix of toughness and professionalism at the same time, although Reese's points are very well taken with this idea that you're a punching bag. I'm not for that either. But Jonathan Swan, who's now at the New York Times, he was at Axios. Jonathan Swan conducted what was probably the best Donald Trump interview we've seen, period, which was he fact-checked in real time. Now, of course, it was just Jonathan Swan and Donald Trump talking. So you have the ability to follow up. You have the ability to stay on somebody in the conversation. One of the mysteries of this moment for NABJ is, why do you have three people on stage when you could have had one, could have had two? You saw that Harris Faulkner at one point was interrupting the answers of another person's questions. And it's felt like, to me, there was a feel there of, I want to save Trump and interrupt, and get in there before, he gets another tough question. Couldn't really tell. But Faulkner, again, I will admit, did have a pretty good question with regard to the what are you going to do for black communities question, which, of course, Donald Trump had zero answer for. Started to talk about energy policy, which was very strange. I mean, so this could have worked. It could be a benefit if it's done correctly. We heard the president of NABJ say on a video, I believe it was on the 28th or the morning of the 29th, well, we've been talking to these campaigns for a month. Well, dude, if you've been talking to these campaigns for a month and this is what you came up with, that's highly problematic. I mean, this was not done well. So there's a lot to say. I think it could have been done a lot better and been a huge plus for NABJ, but they look like they got played. To quote Roland, they look like they got played because they did get played, because this guy, Donald Trump, he knows what he's doing when it comes to communications. He knows how to change narratives. He knows how to interrupt and filibuster. He knows how to step on what you're saying so the audience can't hear you. He knows what he's doing. He might be crazy, but he's not stupid, and he's very good at communication strategy.
Curl Prep Natural Hair Solutions at curlprep.com.
I'm in shock.
For curls, locks, braids, twists, and even those wigs and extensions. Women, men, and children are loving this line. Look at this video and you be the judge. People line up to see this product in action at hair shows, and when they take a seat and try it, they don't believe it's their hair. Buy the products at curlprep.com. It works on all hair types. Use code ROLAND, that's ROLAND, lowercase letters, to get a 15% discount. Parents, remove the ouch. You will love this system because you can comb the product through your child's hair with your fingers. It's all at curlprep.com. Use code ROLAND, lowercase letters, to get a 15% discount.